And with that out of the way, we can go right ahead and talk about the Mavericks and the Timberwolves game, which was a very good game. It was very competitive, and it was very fun to watch. I mean, watching Luca and Kyrie is always watching Luca is always a treat, and then watching Kyrie is also just as much of a treat. I mean, I wish Kyrie would have played this much and this well when he was on the Brooklyn Nets, but I digress. So, he's like, I mean, this is the first time in a while that I've seen both of them play very well, like together at the same time. Usually, it's been, at least in this postseason, it's been one player that goes off while the other player sort of takes a back seat and allows that player to go off. And that's sort of the dynamic that they have. It's not, I mean, a lot of people like to compare it to how Kyrie was second fiddle to LeBron, even though, but it's not really the same thing because when LeBron and Kyrie were doing it, LeBron and Kyrie would both go off at the same time. Like they had to go off at the same time, otherwise they wouldn't make the finals as many times as they did. Like that was their only option, and they had to capitalize on every single game that they had, which they did. And part of that might be because of LeBron, but the other part, I mean, the way that they play is very different like on the Mavericks than the way that they played on the Cavs. I mean, the the set that they run straight pick and rolls most of the time, and obviously, like the ball can only be in the hands of one person, so it'll be either Kyrie or Luka Doncic running the pick and rolls. They don't really do much off the ball, which, I mean, in my opinion, and honestly in Kobe's opinion, that's not going to win you a championship just relying on one person or two people to just isolate and create the shot for themselves. But these two players are that sort of shown that it's definitely possible to make it far. And we've seen the 2018 Houston Rockets make it just as far with the same offensive scheme of having two players run a pick and roll while having the rest of the players space out, and it's worked. Like where I'm going to give credit where credit's due, it works, but only for a time. I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out in like if they do make the finals and if they get past the Timberwolves, but the score was really close. Like the Mavericks, well, it was 108 to 105, excuse me. And the Mavericks, they played, I mean, Luka and Kyrie played very well, but the rest of the Mavericks team, they shot very poorly. I mean, they only made 6 3-pointers throughout the entirety of the game. And the fact that they were still able to win is a little bit concerning for the Timberwolves because 6 for 25, that is horrible, and most of their points came from inside the paint. Like for the Timberwolves and how great their defense is, they gave up a lot of shots in the paint. And I was very, very surprised because I thought the Mavericks were going to have to adjust their game plan to try and make Rudy Gobert a non factor. But they didn't have to do that whatsoever. He was already a non factor in the entirety of the game when Luka and Kyrie were running a pick and roll. Like, he was, and Shaq and Draymond, they were talking about this over on like Inside the NBA after the game, how Rudy Gobert sort of like he was in no man's land for some reason, and it was a little bit odd to see how like he had nothing, he had no answer for the pick and roll or the lobs that Luka and Kyrie were throwing. And to be honest with you, the like it seemed like he was just one step behind the rest of the Mavericks and their offense. Like he would go up and hedge, but he would just be too slow to recover and get back on the person that's throwing the lob. It's really concerning, especially if you're the Timberwolves, because it's like one of your most valuable assets on the defensive side of the court is already proving to be a non-factor. So how is this going to play out for the rest of the series? I'm pretty sure, I have faith that they'll be able to adjust. I mean, they've adjusted to Jokic and his game plan and his sort of offense, and they sort of were able to make his life a little bit more difficult. So maybe now they'll adjust to the Mavericks and their offensive scheme with the pick and roll. It will be difficult because of Luka and how good of a playmaker he is, and Kyrie, who's sort of proving himself to be just as good of a playmaker. And another thing that I realize, but I know is going to get pushed under the rug, is Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns' play. I mean, these guys, they're the number one and the number two option for the team, and they made a combined 12 shots while shooting 36 shots. And that is way less than 50% coming from both of them. I mean, Anthony Edwards was 6 for 16 with only 19 points, 5 for 12 from 3. And then Karl Anthony Towns was 6 for 20, 2 for 9 from 3. And that is, obviously, that's not ideal for the Timberwolves. But the fact that this game was incredibly close just shows, like, that they can totally win this. They could have totally won this game, and they could have totally won this series. Well, they could totally win this series, had Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns have played to, like, their full potential and how we've seen them play. I mean, I'm surprised that there's no criticism coming in from Anthony Edwards. Like, I'm surprised nobody is criticizing Ant right now, especially after having a bad Game 7 and now having a bad Game 1 to enter this series. Like, and I find it very ironic how these bad games are happening right after he's being compared to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and saying, oh, he's Michael Jordan's son, this, that, and the other. But this is getting completely shoved under the rug. No one is talking about how they played, and I'm sorry to say it, like, I mean no disrespect, but they did not play well. They did not play up to the expectations that these players are known to be playing for, like these two specific players. And if they want to win the series, they're going to have to start playing like it. And, like, the only reason why I'm talking about it like this is because if this was somebody like LeBron, if this was Giannis, if this was... Who else gets unnecessary hate from the media for absolutely no reason? If this was Stephen Curry, everybody, and I'm being so serious when I say this, especially in LeBron's case, everybody would be talking about it and everybody would be criticizing that star player. If it's LeBron, I mean, if LeBron drops 19 points in a playoff game and goes 6 for 16, do you really think that the media is going to live that down? No, they're not going to live that down. And it's like, the way I see it, if you're going to give one star player that kind of treatment, it should go both ways. Which is why I don't really give these types of players that treatment. I'm just bringing this up simply because, like, again, I'm surprised that nobody is talking about it. Because if this was LeBron, whole different story. Like, all hell would break loose if LeBron had this kind of performance. And aside from that, it was a really, really close game. Like, it took Luka and Kyrie to drop. Luka had 33 in this game, and Kyrie had 30 in this game. And they were only able to win by 3 points. I mean, that is a very good sign for the Timberwolves, because the fact that you can still allow these guys to, like, have 30 points and still make it close it's pretty good. I mean, granted, they shouldn't allow these players to have this many points, but it's Luka and Kyrie. There's really nothing that you can really do when going up against them. But their offense definitely has to be better. And again, if their offense would have been a little bit better, they would have totally won this game. All they had to do was if each of them would have hit at least just one more shot, they would have won. And another thing that I almost forgot to mention was there was a turning point in the fourth quarter of the game where Karl Anthony Towns, he was going for a putback. And it seemed like a really good putback to me, but it was later overturned and it was called an offensive basket interference. Now, I completely disagree with that call. The shot wasn't going to go in. Like, it was already established the shot wasn't going to go in. And all he was doing was putting the ball back in the hoop. I mean, it wasn't going to go in. The ball, the way that the ball bounced, it bounced up in the air, like from off the rim, and like as it was coming down, and Karl Anthony Towns grabbed it and put it back. I guess it was like because it was still around the rim, which is why they called it. I mean, I get that, but at the same time, no, the shot wasn't going to go in whatsoever. And again, this goes back to the problem that I had with the Mavericks in the previous series, where in Game 6, the foul call at the end of the game, I didn't like that foul call. I mean, I understand why it was called, but I just didn't like it because the game essentially was decided by the refs, and I genuinely do not like it when the game is decided by the referees. It should be decided by the players, no ifs, ands, or buts, unless it's the Eagles holding on against the Kansas City Chiefs. Only reason, only moment where I believe that the refs won the game, and I love it. So, but aside from that, we are out of time for this first segment. So now I will go ahead and go into the second segment where I talk about the All-NBA teams that were just announced. So I will be right back after this short break, and stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody